It has been said that the two greatest words in sports are Game 7. Over the years in New York, we've seen some legendary Game 7 performances. Now, speaking of legendary, a New York sports icon is part of the launch of a new performance lifestyle program titled Game 7. So joining me today to talk about the new platform and more is Rangers legend and six-time Stanley Cup winner Mark Messier and Game 7 co-founder Matt Vlasic. They join me now. Guys, how you doing? Good to see you.
Great to see you too. Good to be on with you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad you guys are here. It's an exciting time to talk about this new venture. And guys, you are launching Game 7. I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to start with Mark first. Can you tell us about what exactly is Game 7 and what motivated you both to create this program?
Well, that's a great question. For me, Game 7 means a lifetime of learning. Obviously, I was experienced 9 Game 7s in my career as a professional hockey player. And I think what really resonates with me are the lessons learned through those experiences in success and failure. And I think the question that we want to ask everybody is, what is your Game 7 moment? What is it that inspires you, or who has inspired you to be successful, and what you've learned through your experiences in, like I said, in success and failure. And so we think we can create a lifestyle platform that really kind of teaches, inspires our kids and youth, professionals, current and past, to ask the question, what is your Game 7 moment? And you don't necessarily have to be an athlete in order to have a Game 7 moment. We think with that it translates over to many different disciplines in life, because it's all the same kind of discipline and trust and dedication and inspiration and perspiration and all the things that we talk about that are so important in what sports teaches us. But those can carry on in everyday life in many different disciplines. So we think we can create a really inspiring lifestyle brand that teaches and inspires our folks around the world to ask themselves the question, what is your Game 7 moment?
What is your Game 7 moment? And anyone can have a Game 7 moment. See, that's so exciting. Matt, what about you? What was some of the motivation for you to start this program?
Well, first of all, thanks for having us, Dexter. And look, as Mark said, Game 7 is an innovative performance lifestyle platform, and really inspired by the hunger needed to succeed in life's pivotal Game 7 moments. And I'm not as fortunate as Mark to have played in 9 Game 7s or even 1 Game 7, but I have had those moments in life where I had to sort of put it all on the line. And, you either come out succeeding or you come out failing. And failing's okay, too, because we learn from that, and that helps us do our next Game 7 moment. But, working with Mark this past couple of years has been so inspiring, learning from him, learning from what it takes and what you need to have to be able to conquer those moments. And we want everyone to be able to learn from that.
So, Matt, I'm going to start with you with this on the next question, because you guys have kind of touched upon this. Why do you think that sports fans will connect with Game 7? Is it the relatability and the fact that everybody or anyone can have a Game 7 moment, a moment in their life where they've got to step up to the challenge? Matt, is that part of it, reason you believe that fans will connect with this program?
You started off saying it quite well yourself, Dexter. You said they're the 2 greatest words in sports, and we think they're the 2 greatest words in life. And but these highly pressurized moments in sports and in life carry such monumental weight. And as we watch these athletes push themselves to new levels and put it all on the line, we think that we can learn from that. And we see those moments in everyday life, whether you're an athlete, a professional athlete, a high school athlete, just going to the gym, you're a CEO, an entrepreneur, whatever it is. So ultimately, our mission here is to transform Game 7 from those 2 greatest words in sports to one of the greatest lifestyle platforms representing peak performance in sport and life.
With that being said, Mark, I'll ask you this. What kind of content can fans expect from Game 7 once it's out there for the people? What kind of content can they expect?
Yeah, I think that's the exciting part about this for me personally, is that we can create a community around Game 7 of like-minded people that are willing to explore their own potential. And through products, through docuseries, through lifestyle performance brands, I think more importantly, though, is that connecting with the audience and asking the greater question, how do people perform under the greatest pressure? What are the tools necessary in order to be successful in those moments? How can we learn from the greatest people that have thrived in those moments? And what is it that allowed them to feel free under the most pressurized moments? And I think that alone is interesting enough. And we did a quick survey of Game 7 and how many people really kind of understood what Game 7, what it meant to them. And one or two people, knew what Game 7 was, even if they weren't an athlete. So, we have 100 years of content to bring to the people in Major League Baseball, National Hockey League, and the National Basketball Association. And I've got another 100 years of content in the pipeline coming. And every year, and last year and this year, we always see great Game 7 performances. We see failures, which I failed many times myself. And I think those are the life lessons that are really important. So, we got a whole host of things that we feel are going to be really relevant to the Game 7 platform and brand. And we're really excited to march that out. We got an incredible investor list. Connor Shell, who's did Last Dance and Words and Pictures, is a partner of ours, and we got some really kind of interesting things in the pipeline coming soon.
And Mark, you just talked about life lessons. You know very well what it's like to play in a Game 7 at the highest level, in which you delivered a Stanley Cup to New York back in '94. You talked about playing in 9 of them. Can you describe for the viewers the pressure of playing in a Game 7, and then also, what does it feel like to win one? Can you talk about that feeling, what it feels like to win one and the pressure of it?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think for me personally, and I think what makes Game 7 so compelling to people that aren't necessarily a sport fan, but will find a time to go watch an event. And it doesn't have to necessarily be a Game 7 in basketball, hockey, or the NBA or baseball. The Super Bowl, for every intents and purposes, a Game 7. Anything that's where the final outcome in a series like that, you can be considered that same kind of pressurized situation. For us, obviously, that came a couple of times. One in the conference finals against New Jersey, where Stéphane Matteau scored the beautiful overtime goal to send us to the Stanley Cup Finals. And of course, in Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Finals in 1994, where we're able to beat the Vancouver Canucks to bring the first Stanley Cup to New York since 54 years. For me personally, it's a lifelong journey of lessons learned, like I said earlier, both in success and failure. And I just am so grateful and humbled by the people that, helped me along the way. I think as a player, I just recently wrote a book that No One Wins Alone. You think about all the people that helped you, put you in that position to succeed. And I think that's what really kind of resonates with people when they watch that kind of Game 7 moment where we know there's going to be a winner. We know there's going to be a loser. I don't like to use the word loser because nobody's really a loser in that moment. But ultimately in our sport, there is a winner and a loser. And if you just look at it as losing and you don't take the lessons learned from losing, then I think it's lost time. And I can't tell you how much I've learned in the most crushing moments for me personally in loss. And but that only made me hungrier. It made me strive, work harder. It made me try to figure out more focused. What didn't I do? Ask myself really hard questions about, what could I have done different? Did I prepare enough? Was I over-prepared? Were we a tight enough team? Did we have the team chemistry required? Did we have the trust that's so necessary in order to win in those pivotal moments? Because you're at the mercy of everybody around you in a team sport. And you're at the mercy of everybody on the team preparing properly, putting the time and the discipline that's required to perform in those moments. But I think the confidence comes when the noise quiets down, the puck drops, then you rely on your preparation. You rely on the things that you've learned over a lifetime in those moments. And so your mind can actually become free, and you're not worried about the what ifs. You're not worried about the consequences. You're not worried about losing or winning at that point. You're just totally playing the game. And I think sometimes we get too far ahead of ourselves, and you can see it in golf all the time, coming down the stretch, start thinking about the outcome, winning, even in the, in our sports. As soon as you take your eye off the ball, you start thinking about the outcome, the what ifs. If you don't do it, you start feeling that pressure. I think that's when things tighten up. And as we know, a tight muscle is a slow muscle, and that's not good in sports. So, I could go on and on and on here for your answer, but I think those are some of the things that we want to uncover and really bring to the public.
No, well said by one of the best who's performed in Game 7 at the highest level. So we thank you for that. Matt, I have to ask you this. Someone like you who's a sports fan, also partnering with Mark on this venture, what do you love about viewing a Game 7 from that fan perspective? And what's your all-time favorite Game 7 moment?
Well, look, there's nothing like Game 7. As you said it before, it's the two greatest words in sports. It's the pinnacle. Gladiators have battled for 6 games straight, and now sort of face each other for that decisive 7th game. It's all on the line. There's anxiety, there's drama, there's passion. It really doesn't get any more intense than that. Even people who aren't sports fans, my mom, for example, she'll come into the room if Game 7's on or any of those pinnacle moments, and all of a sudden the emotion overwhelms her and she's crying. But it's just the best. In terms of my favorite Game 7 moment, I mean, it's 1994 Rangers. We got 2 of them back to back, bringing that cup home to New York. And look, I wasn't even the biggest hockey fan, to be honest. I was a sports fan in general, but that run that they had captivated New York, where I'm from, and it was so impactful. And I'll never forget the impact on the city, the impact on people that weren't necessarily even Rangers fans, even hockey fans. And that's sort of one of the reasons I'm sitting here today with Mark as my partner in our journey to build Game 7 from those 2 greatest words in sports into one of the greatest brands.
2 greatest words in sports, indeed. Mark, back to you. You obviously have a strong tie-in with the NHL through your history playing and then being around the game. What are your thoughts on the talent in the league right now in the state of the NHL today?
Shortly after I retired, I did an interview stating that I don't think there's ever been as much talent at one time in the National Hockey League. And here we are today, many years later, and I'm going to restate that the talent pool coming into the National Hockey League is astounding, to be honest with you. We're seeing things that have never been done in the game ever. Every team seems to have 1 or 2 or 3, generational superstar players that are just incredible to watch, from their skill set to their passion to the dedication. And coming from all over the world. You look at the southern states now in the National Hockey League, and kids, coming from non-traditional hockey areas, making it to the National Hockey League. It just goes to show you the growth of our game, the investment that we're putting into the diversity of the game around the world. As a former alumni, I couldn't be prouder of the game and the state of affairs of the National Hockey League right now and the leadership. We had just an incredible 2 years. The last 2 years, to be honest with you, with the playoff hockey, was just remarkable. And I was lucky enough to be able to kind of work at the ESPN and witness it, talk about it, view it, get back into the arenas and interview these players. And they're just such great kids. Wow, what an exciting time for the fans of the National Hockey League and for the teams themselves.
Yeah, definitely an exciting time for the NHL right now. Matt, I'm coming back to you on this one because you've worked for years in the entertainment industry. And as you know, as a sports and entertainment, they can intersect quite often. So how does your entertainment background help Game 7 in this venture? Because it's quite interesting. You got Mark, who's a former athlete, yourself, who's worked in entertainment. Now you guys are coming together on this. So how does your background help what you guys are trying to do here?
I think, first of all, the skill sets needed to achieve success in a Game 7 moment spans beyond sports, right? It's an experience that requires really a lifetime of learning and practice, and to sort of take the fear of failure and use it as energy to fuel in a positive way. And look, we believe this acquired skill set can be applied across anything, whether that's business, fashion, entertainment. So specific to my previous experience, I spent a lot of time helping artists build their intellectual property, their communities, their audiences, and then ultimately provide those fans, that community, that audience with the greatest experience and other points of connection to their fan base. And that's ultimately what we're doing here. We're creating great content, which, we said it will come soon, and that's likely in 2024. And that content will help build the Game 7 IP and ultimately foster and inspire community, to which we will then provide unbelievably immersive experiences and products.
Yeah, there you go. Mark, one more thing back for you on hockey. I had a couple more for you guys, and then we're done. Ranger fans, as you know, Mark, they would love to see another Game 7 Stanley Cup victory like you delivered back in '94. What were the biggest lessons that you learned from your Game 7s on the Rangers, and how do they translate into what you're trying to do now here with this Game 7 platform?
Unwavering self-belief and in the vision that you've created for the team. And unwavering by meaning no matter what happens, you believe in the path forward. You've set the path forward on a day-to-day basis. Everybody on the team understands how we're trying to get there. Of course, you have to make detours because some things that you might have thought were going to be, important, successful, didn't work. You need to be able to pivot. You need to be able to be honest. You have to be sometimes brutally honest for self-assessment. So I think for me, the journey in 1994, actually starting in 1991 when we won the President's Trophy and only lost in the playoffs, and then going back in 1992 and 93 to missing the playoffs, which is the first time I think in history that a team would won the President's Trophy and then miss the playoffs next year, and feeling the high of winning the President's Trophy, but being disappointed missing the playoffs or losing in the playoffs, and to missing the playoffs and riding that roller coaster all the way from up, all the way down to lower than the snake's belly, and then all the way up to 93 to 94 to winning the Stanley Cup. But feeling that passion, feeling the care in the fan base, something that, an original six team carried around for 54 years, had never seen it. Generations of fans together, moms and dads and aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters, grandparents, finally got a chance to see the Stanley Cup. But it would not have happened without the complete commitment by the players and the organization and the coaches. And when I think about that, what I did learn is that if you're not completely immersed into the journey, it will never happen. Stanley Cups, championships don't happen because it's your turn and the sand is run out of the clock. It doesn't happen by accident. It's a well thought out plan in order to win, and executed it flawlessly. And we had that in 1994, and it's a lesson that I'll never forget.
Yeah, a lesson that could definitely be passed on into what you're doing now with this Game 7 platform. So last thing for you both, you're at the start of your Game 7 journey with this platform. So what's next for Game 7, and where do you want to take this program into the future? Matt, I'll start with you first on this.
Look, we're incredibly excited for what's in the pipeline for Game 7. So excited that we had to get out in front and start talking about it now. Our community, our consumers should be on the lookout for a content series that'll include podcasts, products, and ultimately amazing community experiences. And look, we look forward to formally announcing more about each of these sort of verticals and in the coming months and throughout 2024.
All right, excited about that. Mark, what about you? Where do you see this going in the future? What are the goals for Game 7?
I look at it as an inspirational platform. I look at the opportunity to lend all the experience that I learned and all the people that will be coming on board to help Game 7 teach those learnings and inspiring our boys and girls, our youth into, pushing themselves to higher levels against all the odds, paying it forward in many respects. To me, that's the most exciting part of this whole mission for Game 7, is to really kind of inspire our youth, make it an aspirational platform, but also an inspirational platform.
Yeah, and that's definitely good. The life lessons that can be learned from everything in sports, that is great for us to learn all the time and what we can learn, life lessons. I want to thank you both for joining me, talking to me about Game 7. That is Matt Vlasic and the great Mark Messier, NHL legend. Thank you, guys. Look to talking to you more and connecting with you about this platform down the road.